I have never been in the middle of more books than I am right now. Like literally look at this stack. I'm reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, and I think the last like big stack that I had was 5 books, and that was honestly daunting to me. So I want to like see if I can finish all the books that I'm reading in this video. We'll see if I can. I'm not sure if I will or not, because again, it's not that I'm not loving the books. Like I'm absolutely obsessed with everything that I'm reading, and I've shared with you guys that I've kind of like really honed in on what I actually enjoy, which is making me love like reading even 10 times more than I was before, which I already have always loved reading. But because I've honed in on like what I actually love to read, every single book is a freaking banger. Like every single book is so good for the most part, and I just like get so excited to pick up every book. But with that, I also have tons of books on my shelf that I'm also excited to pick up. So like right now, I really want to pick up a book by Octavia Grant because I know that her books are gonna like pull me in, but I'm like, I can't pick up anything else. I literally can't until I finish these. Right now, I'm reading so many books. One of them I'm reading on my Kindle. I'm reading this one right here. Let me just show you guys. I feel like it'll be easier if I just show you guys all the books and like the pages that I'm on. Right now, one of the books I'm reading is The Last Mistress Perish, and I'm pretty far, not like wildly far in this one, but pretty far. I'm at page 144, and this one is literally so similar to The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. This book was written first too, which is like so wild. Like, did she literally read this book and just like carbon copy it? It's really good so far though. I'm really enjoying it. I'm also reading The Last Chance Dance by Lakita Wilson. I'm almost done with this one. I've actually run out of bookmarks, so I've just been dog-earing all my pages, and I'm on page 295, and I think this one only has like 325 pages. This is a really cute read. I haven't really been in the mood lately for young adult like romances, but this one like has really grabbed my attention. Like I'm loving it. And then I'm also reading Phantom Limb by Lucinda Berry. Did I lose my bookmark? Oh, there it is. I'm on page 103 of this one, so I'm about like halfway through, I think, of this one, almost. And then I just started this last night. Don't ask me why. I just literally was just in the mood, and I was like, you know what? I want to read this one. Started last night. I'm pretty far into it. I'm page 42, and there's only like 145 pages of this one. So I have like almost like a little over 100 pages left of this one. Then I'm reading Demon's Dream, which this one is one that has been so daunting to me because it's so thick, but you guys gave me the tip to read it on my Kindle, and so that has actually helped so much. I'm on page 436 on my Kindle, which is a little over like halfway. You guys can see the distance. Again, I've been reading it on my Kindle, and you guys can see like the update. I'm on page, where we go? There we go. 436 on there. And I've been loving it on my Kindle. I literally have not read. I started it on a physical book, and I have not picked it up on a physical book since because it is like so daunting because it's so thick. It's like 700 and something pages, like 700 and like 45 pages or something. So I have not been reading it there. I've been reading it on my Kindle. And then I'm also reading Keeping 13, which I actually think I'm going to switch and read this on my Kindle Scribe as well, because I'm not super far into this one. I'm only 84 pages in, but again, I think the thickness of the book and the small like text is really getting to me. Like this book is like 600 and like 50 something pages, and it again is like very small text. I mean, you can see like the words are a lot smaller than most, but loving it again. So many of these books I'm loving, so it's not that I'm disliking any of the books. I just need to finish them. Like I need to stop hopping around. So I'm gonna try to see how many books I can finish in this video. I finished this book and I was really impressed by it. I think because I have not been in the mood to read a young adult anything in a while, but this book had an interesting like storyline. If you like books that have like kind of a, what's it called? I can't even think of it. It's a, I'm literally thinking triangle. What is it? Oh my gosh, it's literally on the tip of my tongue. Where there's like two love interests. You guys, I know someone's screaming it at me. You know what I'm trying to say. There's 2 love interests. That is literally what this book was. Love triangle. Wow, literally, love triangle. There's a love triangle in this. But I will say that throughout the book, I wasn't sure who she was gonna choose, and I feel like that's very rare for books that have love triangles in them. I also think that this is a good book if you've been through a breakup and you've like wanted to go back to that person, or maybe you have went back to that person, like I think this could be a good book for that. It's very rare that you read books like that, but this book on the front says 3 weeks, 4 dates, one last chance for love. And it has like a really unique plot because they're having like a dance, and it's like obviously called the Last Chance Dance. And they're all like getting together, but they have like these matches, and there are like certain people that match with like certain people, and some people are popular and some people aren't, and like it's a very cool concept. I don't want to like spoil anything, so I don't want to say too much. I always wonder about like whether I say too much or I'm not saying enough in videos, because I just genuinely do not want to ever spoil a book for anyone. And like I've had so many people that I like will follow and like watch the videos and stuff, and they'll like say stuff, and I'm like, dang, I didn't know that this book had, you know, this in it or that in it. Like most of the time it's like when people refer to a specific trope that is like a hidden like trope, like a secret one, like a cheating trope or a pregnancy trope. Like usually don't find out about those tropes until you like really get into the book. And some people will tell those tropes, whereas like this, you literally know that it's like a love triangle by like the inside of the book and what it says. But I never want to spoil anything, because I feel like that is like the magic of a book, is you just never know what's gonna happen. I am going to start, I'm going to continue reading some of the other books that I'm reading. I got a little bit farther in some of them. This is the book that I'm reading right now, but the sun is literally setting, so I want to go out there before the sun goes down. I've been trying to like get in bed fairly at like a decent time, but I've been doing terrible at it because it's literally 8 o'clock right now, and it's like the sun is not even close to being down. Like it's setting, but it's not even like down yet. Like it really won't be down to like 9 something. Comment below if you have been struggling with going to bed at a decent hour. Like in the winter, we are like just knocked out by like 9:30. Like that's pretty much like when we try to go to sleep, because we wake up fairly early. But the summer, it's just so hard. So I'm gonna go out there, read for a little bit. I am on page 83 now with this, and it's been really good so far. So I'm on page 322 of The Last Mrs. Parrish, and it is really good, but I kid you not, this book is literally identical to The Housemaid, and this book came out first. Like, I just, did Frida McFadden take this story? Like, it is literally the exact same. I will say there are some differences, and honestly the differences in this book are better than The Housemaid. I feel like this book was popular like years ago, like I think like 2020 maybe, like 2019 or something. I just didn't read it until this year, and if you read this book and like haven't read The Housemaid, you'd probably be like, oh, this is amazing. But if you've already read The Housemaid, you'd be like, dang, like I literally know the storyline. You might even think that like she's taking this from Frida, but this book was like first. But I will say that I am enjoying the like twists that are a little bit different than what is in The Housemaid. Literally I have this much left, like barely any, but literally everything's identical. Like, I mean, down to like the apartment, like the just everything, like literally it's so eerily similar. But I am enjoying it. It's hard to figure out what I'm going to rate this because I already know what's going to happen, you know, and so like it just kind of takes away some of the interest in the thriller aspect, because I'm not being thrilled at all. Like I just literally know what's going to happen. But this one is, I feel like, a little bit better because the main character is more conniving than the main character in The Housemaid. So I feel like if you've read The Housemaid, you could still really enjoy this one for sure. I'm also reading The Last Sad Love Song, and I just opened this one because I wanted to close this one after reading it for a little bit. And this one is really good, but I saw this quote that like I wanted to read to you guys. It's on page 86, and it says, the person you were with last week wasn't the same as the person you were with 2 years ago, and wouldn't be the same person 2 years from now. Times change, and so did people. Every day we evolved a little more, and that evolution could be for better or worse. We had to decide whether we would stick around for it. That wasn't glorifying struggle love in any way. There was a difference between sacrifice, compromising, and allowing someone to treat you like complete-ish. So that quote to me was so like powerful, because I feel like a lot of the time, like literally the sentence before that, it says like the problem with relationships is that things start off good and people expect them to always be good, and they said stuff like ish doesn't work like that. And I feel like people expect to go into relationships like having it be perfect, but then they like spiral to the point of like expecting the person to be terrible, which is why like at the end of the sentence it says there's a difference between sacrifice, compromise, and allowing someone to treat you like complete like crap. And I feel like people go into it being like, oh, like I have a fairy tale romance, like this is amazing, and then things start going bad and they just like settle for that. So that quote, I was just like, man, like that needs to be like hung up in like some people's walls. Like that is like such a good quote, like a reminder that the person you're with now, 2 years, 3 years from now, is not going to be that same person, but you can decide if you want to continue to be with them, if you want to sacrifice, you know, things or compromise, or if you want to allow them to treat you like crap. This book initially I was kind of like, oh, it's like fine, like it's okay, but I feel like as I've gotten into it more, I've really started to like it more. This one is called The Last Love Song by Kimberly Brown. And I also feel like I've never read a Kimberly Brown book, so I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I feel like this one doesn't have so much spice that it's like overwhelming. There's definitely a lot in here, but like there's definitely a storyline. I will say it's definitely giving insta love, like from like page 3, it's like insta love, so you have to definitely like that to enjoy the book. But it is really good so far, and I feel like quotes like that always draw me in and make me love the books even more. I just pulled up into like the parking lot for one of the most beautiful Barnes and Nobles that I think I've literally ever seen. Like it is so pretty. I'll show you guys whenever we like walk in. Like the front of it is like white. It's so crisp and clean. You guys did not tell me to stop book shopping, so I'm gonna keep book shopping, and as long as you guys like it, I love it, okay? I also feel like whenever I was sharing the last video that bringing joy into my life has really changed my days, like especially like going through so much. I feel like bookstores in particular have also provided such a safe, calming, relaxing space. I'm actually getting ready to go to a funeral. As you guys can see, the dress is like right there. One of my friends, someone that's so special in her life, passed away, so I'm going to support her. It's not someone that I'm like particularly close with or like know, but I like want to be there for her. And I found that like, I don't know, I've learned so much going through my own grief, and I want to make sure that I show up for my friends and like family and stuff who like maybe are going through something similar, because it's like such a hard thing to go through. But also I feel like I've really had to learn how to show up for myself as well, especially when I feel like other people in my life maybe haven't shown up for me in the way that I feel like I expected them to, I guess. Because no one owes me anything, but I definitely do think that if like you don't need a lot of friends, or you don't need to be friends with everyone, but you do need your friends to actually be friends. And like if you guys want to hear more about like things that I wish I knew in my 20s, listen to my recent podcast episode I shared like last Friday. It's all about things I learned in my 20s, and that's one of the things that I talked about is like friendship, and I talk a lot about like relationships and stuff. But I have learned so much like over the years, but again, showing up for myself has been like so important. So by that I mean like do fun things, bring joy into your life. Don't wait on your friends or people in your life to do that for you, because you could be waiting forever. You could literally be waiting for your friends to text you, for your friends to be like, hey, like do you want to do something, like you want to go on this trip, you want to do that. Like no, don't wait for them. Go on that trip, go to that bookstore, go buy that thing, go have that solo date, whatever that might be. Maybe it's at the park, park. Maybe it is a freaking trip to Paris. I don't know. But whatever it is, do that thing for you. Don't wait for someone to like do it for you or be there for you in a moment that you like have always dreamed of, or maybe like a moment that is like hard for you or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like showing up for yourself is so important. So, that's what I'm telling myself as I go into Barnes. I'm gonna show up for myself. And going to funerals, I have not been to one since my dad passed, and so I'm actually like feeling a lot of sadness like in my heart today, just because like I know how I'm gonna feel going in, like, but then I remind myself like the people who are going to the funeral, they don't even want to be there. Like when my dad passed, like I genuinely was like, I don't think I can get myself to go to this funeral. Like I was literally telling Brady, I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like it's just so hard to like say goodbye. And I feel like going into this like memorial space, funeral space is going to be very like emotional in a sense of just like really feeling a lot of the feelings that I felt when I like first said goodbye to my dad, but also like everything that has come after with just like life and change. I think I've shared with you guys a million times, but like my mom moved away like 2 months after my dad passed, and she moved to like a 4.5, 5 hour plane ride away. So she's like far away. I would have to drive. Like if I wanted to drive to her, it would take over 24 hours. And my younger brother, he also moved away to the same area where my mom is, and just like my family dynamic has totally turned itself upside down. Like literally on Easter, like we went out to eat at like McDonald's because like me and my siblings, because we don't have like a home base anymore. So we're not like, oh, we're just gonna go over to mom's. It's like no one's planning anything. So like we're trying to figure out our groove, because obviously this is our first year without dad, and obviously like my mom isn't in the same town anymore, but like we still FaceTime and stuff. But obviously you guys saw we hung out whenever she came in town. And again, it's such a new, hard dynamic. And then literally 6 months after my dad passed, my dog of like 10 years, passed from cancer. And that again is like such a, he's been such a staple in my life. Like every time that I'm like reading books outside, like he's with me, and I could always hear his little like paws on the floor and all these things. So lots of grief upon loss, upon change. And if you're in a space where you're really struggling, like just feeling like nothing is going right, like you just like are having the hardest time, I promise you, one, you're not alone. Like every person around you that you see at the grocery store, that you see maybe in your classes or whatever, they are also struggling with something too. I can guarantee it. But also in that struggle, I really hope that you like just hold space for joy too. And I know that probably sounds weird, but like you can sit in sadness, and I don't think that it's bad to sit in sadness and to feel that. But I feel like for me, when I sit in it so long and let it fester, it makes me just like so down bad where I literally don't want to do anything. And again, I do think it is good to feel like sadness, but again, it can definitely take over your life. So do something that makes you happy. Do something that makes you happy today. And the more things that you do that make you happy, you'll find that you'll be excited for the next day, because you know something good is coming. So for me, I always try to do something, at least one thing in my day that's gonna like make me feel good. And today it's the bookstore. Tomorrow I think I'm gonna do like the farmer's market. But this video will obviously already be up, but go over to my Instagram if you guys want to see stuff like that on stories. I think I'm gonna go to the farmer's market by myself. Like just, I love doing little things by myself. I went to like the record store last week, and I didn't even buy anything in the record store. I literally was just like walking around, but like it is so peaceful and calming to know that I can bring joy into my life. And you guys know that my faith is also incredibly important to me. So I've been really leaning into just like knowing that everything happens for a reason, that God is like ordaining my steps, that he's like leading me to where I need to be. And I think a lot about how like when I had my old job before I was a creator, I worked with people who had neurodivergent children who needed like respite care, and all over the state of Illinois. I worked in like 18 different counties, and I loved what I did, like loved it so much. And when I was doing that, I genuinely was like, I can't imagine a better job than this. I'm obsessed with it. And then I started like creating, fell in love with this, and I was like, dang, like that's so cool. I feel like that would be such a fun job. And now this is my job, and all of the things that I did in my previous job that I loved, like I'm using almost 100% of those same skills in this job. But also the job before that I hated, that I was at for a year, literally like every single day I went to work, I was like, oh my God, I hate this job so much. all of those skills I'm also using in this job. And so the good, the bad, it's all working out to be like the way it's supposed to be. And like you're being led the right direction, and you can't make the wrong decisions because your steps are already like going where they need to take you. So, anyway, amen. I'm gonna go into the bookstore and get off my soapbox, and I hope that encouraged you a little bit, but I hope it also encourages you to do something fun for yourself because you deserve it. First place I decided to stop was like the young adult table, because I didn't do this last time, and now I've been doing it like more often, or at least, okay, I did the last time I stopped at the young adult section, but I haven't in like the previous times that I was looking for books. And I feel like I always used to find such good stuff in the young adult section, and now I am, and I'm actually looking here again. Like this one, Secrets Never Die. I've never even heard of this book before. It says, when you call the dark place, I don't know who built it or when, but for us it's a sacred spot. And it just looks like a nice little like mystery type book. I always feel like I like young adult books, like their thrillers and stuff, because they like jump right into it. I've never read House of the Cerulean Sea, but I know Kalila loves this book. And look at the binding of these books. Like, I think this is maybe a newer book, but look at that. It's literally making me want to buy the book. I've never even read anything from this author before. In the read before you see it section, and guys, look at the cover of this. Oh, why did they do this? Why did they do this? Guys, like, why? I mean, I guess, like, people who maybe, like, when they see the movie in August, they, like, if they haven't read the book, they'll, like, know, like, oh, this is the book. But why? Like, literally, the cover looked so good before they did this. I hate when they poke people on the cover. Did anyone else not know that Sarah Adams was coming out with a new book? Like, I don't know if this is a new book or if this is just a book that was like re-released with a new cover. I literally can't keep up with authors anymore. This is called The Match, and it looks like a cutesy little rom-com. It says a charming romance novel about second chances and the healing power of love with a never-before-seen chapter. So maybe it is like a book that was just re-released with a new cover. I own the original cover of this, but I can't remember if I said this in the last vlog or not, but I kind of want to get this cover because she's coming out with the second book that is like literally the second to this book, not just like a different story. It's the same characters, but she's coming out with the second book next year. So I feel like I'm going to want the books to match. I ended up getting one book. Like, I genuinely don't even know who I am right now, because when does this ever happen? Like, when do I ever go to Barnes & Noble and get one book? Like, it literally never happens. But this was actually a book that was on my radar. I gotta turn on the air, y'all. It is hot in here. I just got back in the car, obviously. But it's been on my radar for a minute because, whenever I did the podcast episode with Kinsey in, where were we at? New York. She was like, I just read this book. It was just released. It's so freaking good. And so I was like, you know what? I've already read one book by this author, so I want to read this one. But it actually was not at my Barnes at home when I went shopping. So I am excited to show you guys I got this one. It's called This Used to Be Us by Renee Carlino. This is the author who wrote Before We Were Strangers, and I read that book I think in 2020, like 4th or maybe 2021. This says, get ready for an emotional roller coaster of family, marriage, and divorce that will have you both laughing and crying from the best-selling author of Before We Were Strangers. This is a work of fiction, by the way. After 22 years together, Danielle and Alex are getting a divorce. Once fiercely in love, they can now barely stand the sound of each other's voice. Instead of shelling the kids between two broken homes, Danny and Alex decide to share a nesting apartment while swapping days with their two teenage boys at the family home. In the apartment, Danny and Alex on their own begin to reflect on the last 2 decades, why they fell in love, and why the marriages fell spectacularly apart. With the newfound space and time, they're given a chance to rediscover their autonomous selves again. They both get back into the dating pool. Danny finds major success at work as a showrunner on her own TV project, while Alex faces the challenges of a new relationship. Still, they can't stay away from each other, and somehow the distance allows them to remember for the first time in years why they fell in love. When a family crisis draws them back together, Danny and Alex are once again put to the test, leading to a dramatic conclusion that will have readers weeping. Now, Kinsey said that this book was really good, which is why I'm really excited to read it. I read Before We Were Strangers, and I feel like, I can't remember if that book was in fiction or if it was in romance, but it definitely felt like fiction, but it was heavy on the romance. So it kind of gave like, you know, Emily Henry's like Happy Place, like that book to me could have easily been in like the fiction section and not the romance section. It was very much like that, like still heavy on the romance, but there still were so many other like plots outside of the storyline. So I will let you guys know what I think of this. I definitely want to read this soon. Now I'm gonna change, head to the funeral. I have some book updates because I have finished some books since we last talked. So I'll probably give you guys those updates maybe later tonight or tomorrow. Now that I'm home, I have some book mail and I want to show it to you guys. I feel like this is my reward for buying one book at Barnes. Like I literally bought one book at Barnes, and of all days, the only day that I've ever just bought one book at Barnes, I end up with 3 packages, and I know 2 of them are books. This, obviously, you guys remember that that's the book I got. You literally just saw that 2 seconds ago. But I'm gonna open these. One of these packages I know is not books, and then the rest of them are all books. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this one first because I know that this one is not the bookish one. This one I'm so excited about. I got this recipe binder. Literally, this is giving grandma era. I cannot wait to use this. This is from the brand Friend of Mine. Remember those cards that I played with Alex? We played on her birthday, and then we also played like this little card game together when we were at the park one time. I know one of you guys like commented and asked if I could like link them. I try to link stuff like that in the description too, so if you ever see something in a video, I usually try to put it there. Sometimes I do forget though, but this is from the same brand. I love the like colors of it. This is literally giving grandma vibes, and I feel like that's everything that I want and more. So I wanted a recipe book, and I'm excited about it because I feel like so often we keep recipes on our phone and we don't have like things actually written down. So with a recipe book, you can write stuff down and then you can pass it on to, or a recipe binder, you can pass those recipes on to people that you love. So this is super cool. It says this belongs to a friend of mine, and then you put your name in there. There's breakfast, there's dinner, there's lunch, there's treats and drinks. And then if you look here, it says the dish, and then it says my recipe journal to pair with, notes, recipes. I'm gonna give you guys like a little close up. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm trying to look over the top just so I can see if you can even see. There we go. So yeah, it has like a lot of different things that I feel like are really good for recipes. And again, this is perfect for those who like to cook. This would be a great gift for your mom, for someone who loves to cook, for someone who wants to get into cooking, for someone who's in the grandma era. Perfect gift, and for yourself too, because again, I feel like so often we keep our recipes on our phone, but we don't actually write them down. And you're probably using a lot of the same recipes over and over again, but imagine if that person took whatever recipe they had off the internet, or if your family member has a recipe that you guys always use. Imagine if you lose that paper. Like, you don't want that to happen. So just put in the recipe book. Like, I have this recipe for homemade cheesecake, and it's a recipe that we like only get whenever like we get married, which honestly, it's like, when I think about it, it's like, what about all the unmarried people? Like, they can have the cheesecake recipe too, but it's like only when you get married. Like, my grandma only wants to give it to people when they're like married. So for years I like wanted this so bad, and then whenever Brady and I got married, we got the recipe, and I just literally have it, like a picture of it on my phone, because the actual recipe, like the physical like copy of it, is at her house. And I think my mom has a copy because My grandma like wrote it out for her, so it's like in her handwriting, but I just have a picture of it. And so that would be a perfect thing to put into this recipe book, so I don't have to deal with like, what if that picture gets deleted or something, you know? So yeah, I feel like it's just really important to have tangible things, and I feel like so often we don't get tangible things for whatever reason, like even pictures. Like I've been wanting to print out my pictures more versus just have them in my phone. Like kind of back how like our parents used to, you know? So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do more of this year. But in this box, we have, see, yay, oh my gosh, 2 books. And one of them I'm so excited about. These are the 2 books here. The first one is one that I honestly had never heard of before. It's called The Dark Place, and I actually heard about this because a Black author made a TikTok, and she was saying how so often Black authors don't get picked up for like fantasy or like thrillers and stuff because the publishers don't think that their books are gonna sell. And so I was like, oh, let me like see what her books are. And this is called The Dark Place. It says, every secret comes to haunt you. 17-year-old Haley Williams didn't ask to disappear. She didn't ask to move from Kansas City, Kansas out to the suburbs in Missouri, but she did disappear. Not only that, when she vanished from our world, she materialized into a dark, twisted version of the night that changed her life forever, the night her older brother went missing. Just as Hailey realizes this moment could offer a chance to unravel the truth about her brother, she's yanked away from the dark place back to her world. Craving a sense of normalcy, she goes to a party with her best friend where she meets Elam Rhodes, tall, handsome, and undeniably, inexplicably familiar. Kylie can't help the pull she feels toward him. It's a classic girl meets boy situation until it happens again. She disappears right in front of him. Together, Hailey and Iliam investigate the truth about time, space, and reality, with Hailey increasingly convinced her time travel holds the key to saving her brother. But the more they learn, the more Hailey begins to see darkness lurking in her world and in herself. Combining the quotable relatability, swoony romance, and emotional resonance of John Green with the surrealist horror imagery and razor-sharp wit of Jordan Peele, Brittany S. Lewis's sophomore novel is at once haunting, enchanting, and entirely unforgettable. I feel like this is gonna be so good. And also looks super easy to read, like super easy to read. Like literally this is the first chapter. Past November 9 years ago. This is what I remembered. Our house was draped in a sheet of mahogany from the dark, cold evening. Brown shingles covered 2 stories, and I hated the shingles. Couldn't exactly pinpoint it, just that sometimes in the night, the house looked like it might devour every limb on our bodies and chew us into small, meaty pieces. The tree in the front yard had thin, warping branches, and with the evening glow against the curtains, it looked like someone was reaching, stretching for the window. Bulb knuckles, long nails, a scrape there, and maybe a whisper. Mama had finished cooking hours ago, but the smell of warm grease stuck to the roof of my mouth while I sat in the living room, controller in hand, playing Mortal Kombat with my older brother, Bubba. I was 8 then, he was 15. I was winning. Well, let me just stop because I'm already engrossed and I'm halfway through the second page. Like I'm halfway through this, already read this part. Like I'm already in. But you guys can see like the words are really big. I don't know if you guys can see that in comparison to like regular words. They kind of have like the young adult, like when the words are big in like young adult novels, it kind of looks like that. So I'm really excited to read this one just because I feel like it's going to be really good. And then I also got Not About a Boy, which this has been one of my most anticipated releases. I had never heard about it, and then I actually got an e-arc of it, and then I didn't end up reading the e-arc because I always find that like if there's a book I'm super excited about, I want to like read the physical copy. I don't know what it is. I just feel like it needs to be in my hands. I need to touch it, feel it, smell it, breathe it, just like the physical copy. And so I wanted to buy the physical copy myself. On the front it says heartbreaking but ultimately hopeful. This debut feels like a good cry with your best friend, and that's from Elise Bryant, who wrote Happily Ever Afters. And this is a debut book. It's a Harper teen book by Maya Hollis. It says Amelie has never known what it truly means to be happy. She thought she'd found happiness once in a love that ended in tragedy and nearly sent her over the edge. Now at 17, Mel is beginning to piece her life back together. Under the supervision of Laurel Child Services, the exclusive foster foster care, I literally can't talk today, foster care agency that raised her. Mel is sober and living with a new family among Manhattan's elite. It's her last chance at adoption before she ages out of the system, and she promises time she'll try. But a casual relationship with the boy is turning into something she never intended for it to be, causing small cracks in her carefully constructed walls. Then the sister she has no memory of contacts Mel, unearthing complicated feelings about the past and what could have been. As the anniversary of the worst day of her life approaches, Mel must weather the rising tides of grief and depression before she loses herself and those close to her all over again. This looks like such a deep, heart-wrenching story. Like, I just feel like this is gonna be really, really good. And it also looks like a really easy read. On the back, there are tons of quotes from authors that I love. So the author who wrote You Bet Your Heart, Danielle Parker, love that book. It gave Better Than the Movies vibes. It says, she wrote beautiful, raw, Not About a Boy is a searing debut full of humor, heart, and the expansive rage of emotions that rage within us all. Read this book to remember why feelings come first. Maya Hollis is a breath of fresh air. And then Jade Adia, who wrote There Goes the Neighborhood, which I read that and also really enjoyed it. It kind of gave like Scooby-Doo and the Gang vibes. It says, staggeringly honest, emotionally complex, Not About a Boy paints a portrait of a girl on the cusp of adulthood with tenderness and tenacity. Deftly intertwiningly lyrical prose and searing wit, Hollis writes for the girls who've been lost and understood the grueling task of finding oneself all over again. Not About a Boy is fresh, smart, and gorgeously written. Maya Hollis is the truth teller. Wow. I want to read this so bad. Like, is it bad that I want to bump this to the top of my TBR? Like, I literally already want to like jump into this. Like, okay. All right. Okay. I started reading it. I guess I could start reading it like I did with the other one. It says part 1, chapter 1, A State of Delusion. He does not stay over. He shows up at 12:30 a.m. and leaves by 2, long after the apartment has gone still. When I can watch his silhouette move like a phantom through my room, pulling on clothes, knowing he'll have no problem getting from here to the front door, I yawn, mumble something synonymous with goodbye, and roll over. It's a simple system. Tonight, he'd fallen asleep, so I figured I could give him like 30 minutes to rest before kicking him out, and this is why you should give boys nothing. Hayden! I crawl over the body in my bed to turn on the lamp. Soft golden light pours onto a face completely swaddled in sheets, head nestled into the pillow, comforter pulled up to his chin. He looks so peaceful. I slap him. And it says like a curse word. We all know I don't curse. Dang, he groans. His fingers lock around my wrist to keep me from hitting him again. Was that necessary? I grab his phone from my free hand and hold it up for him to see. He blinks at the clock on the glowing screen. 5:20. Finally, his eyes flicker to mine with the appropriate amount of alarm. I'm gonna leave it there. We're already on the second page. Like, we're literally already in the story. I need to know what happens here. And then we have one more box, which this one I probably won't read all of the freaking first chapters of because we would be here all night. But this one is another box of books that I'm excited about. And again, I feel like I've been picking books that are so me, like more than ever. And it's making me even more excited for book hauls because the books are literally just like books I cannot wait to read. And I got 4 books in this little stack. Guys, I got so many books today. Look at all these books. Like, look at this. There's so many books. Just like, I literally went to Barnes for one. Didn't realize there would be so many packages today. So I got this book right here called Roaming Holiday by Marina Hill. These are all, like, most of these books are by, actually I think all of them are. All of them but one. They're all books by Black authors, and these are all very, like, not hyped up books. Like, they barely have any reviews or they, like, just came out. This says, Nina, becoming the queen of a country is not part of Nina's otherwise perfect 10-year plan. She may have graduated at the top of her linguistics program, but everything quickly unravels after that. Her cheating boyfriend is only the start. When the spontaneous family trip to Maldana turns out to be not so spontaneous after all, Nina's father reveals that her long-deceased mother was actually the queen, and the court wants her to ascend the throne. Yes, her. A hard-headed people-pleaser with an unhealthy obsession with French fries. She's given the summer to decide if she wants to be the queen, to live her Roman holiday fantasy and explore this quaint island in all its beauty, including her surly bodyguard whose empty eyes she's determined to fill. Wesley. Wesley's worth is organized crime In organized crime was defined by how many lives he took. Haunted by the good man he once was, he narrowly escaped his life of death and darkness. Determined to rebuild his life, he accepts my first ethical job in years. Protect a secret princess whose sole mission is to irritate him. He tries to keep his head down, but Nina, the most stubborn genius he's ever met, finds a way to lift his chin and show him that life has more joy and light than he thought. But when his mistakes come looking for revenge, Wesley must find a way to control his darkness without letting it poison his light. This looks so good. And there's like text messages and stuff in here. I love books like that where you like see text messages. Can you see that? Yeah, that looks so good. Then I got The Friendship Study. This is the one that is not by a Black author, but this one I've heard a lot of good things about. And it says, Jesse Logan doesn't want a fresh start. He wants his old life back. Before an injury made his career as a firefighter impossible, before his grandfather's Alzheimer's got so bad he doesn't recognize Jesse anymore. When a friend tells him about a paid psychological study, Jesse sees it as a chance to get back to the man he was while making a little extra cash. All Lulu Banks is asking for is a fresh start. Back home after a devastating breakup, she's struggling to find her place. She's always been a lot, too loud, too eager, too obvious about her feelings. The Friendship Study seems like a great idea until she's paired with Jesse Logan, who recently ghosted her after a blind date that led to a steamy makeout session. Now that old familiar tension is back, despite the program's strict no romance rule, Jesse and Lulu are quick to find a workaround that allows them to explore their tenuous connection, and soon they're on their way to self-improvement as long as they don't get caught. This looks good. I love books with like little studies and stuff in them. And then I also got Our Secret Moments by Janisha Boswell. Never heard of this author. It looks super cute, by a Black author. It says Catherine Fables is a planner and a fixer. She lives her life to a set of rules that she's certain will guarantee success. When a wrench is thrown into the framework of her steady routine, she has to work around it or through it. As a journalism major, good reviews mean everything to her, so when nobody wants to take over the abandoned newspaper for the college football team, she takes the opportunity by the horns, or the helmet, I guess. Connor Bailey, quarterback for the Dayton Tritons, can only try to fix the one thing that matters the most to him, his team. He's confident in most of the ways that matter. Huge ego, flirtatious personality, convinced he's got the biggest you get the idea. One thing he's not so good at, talking to people about himself. He could talk for hours about football, but when he tries to get down to the deeper stuff, he often comes up empty. Strangely enough, talking to Kat is easier than it is with most people. When the two are in more close contact situations than they'd like at parties and in hot tubs filled with steamy tension, will Kat and Connor be able to keep their attraction to one another at bay, or will they blow their cover as they hide their relationship with Nora, Kat's best friend, roommate, and worst of all, Connor's sister? Whoa! Wow, this is intense. Sounds really, really good. This says that the content warnings are that this deals with grief. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but just know that this book does deal with grief. So keep that in mind. Also, it says for those that want to skip the particularly spicy scenes, or those that want to just skip straight through them, whatever you prefer, it's a judge-free zone over here. They add the chapters that are steamy. Wow, like chapter 21. It says over the phone, and then that has in parentheses, and then it says chapter 24, 26, 30, 35, and 40. So you could skip the spicy scenes in this and still get a really good story, which I love. I feel like I don't see that enough. And I love how authors are doing that more so that you can still get the story without the spice if you don't want it. And then I also picked up The Summer of Dandelions, and this is by Whitney Amazing. And this says, he needs to find a wife. She can't afford any distractions. After she's fired from her serving job and kicked out of her apartment by her temperamental roommate, Addison Ellsworth has run out of luck and cash. She can practically see her dream of winning the Miss Meadow title drifting from her with the summer breeze. This is her last chance to win. No more excuses, no more distractions, not even her ex, the host of the pageant, who's convinced Addison is still not over him. When a live-in nanny position opens up in town, she sends off a quick prayer and a pink resume, hoping the new job will be her saving grace. But Addison's answered prayer quickly transforms into an unexpected hurdle. Not only is her gorgeous new boss completely distracting, but single dad Perry Whitmore also happens to be the restaurateur who had her fired. Perry can't fire her from this job though because she's the only nanny his children get along with. Now he's forced to bring Addison and her contagious dimpled smile on family trips and pretend he's not attracted to her. With his dad retired and ready to move, he has 6 months left to get married so he can inherit his childhood home, the last place he has happy memories of his late mother. Addison might be the solution to all of Perry's problems, especially when she agrees to a fake relationship that could buy him more time and help Addison prove her unbearable ex she's not only moved on, but upgraded. Now the only thing they have to do is ignore the annoying, sizzling chemistry between them if they're going to do what's necessary to finally accomplish their dreams. This is the first book in the Meadow Hills series, but can be read as a standalone. Wow. Oh my God. And this cover is so cute. Okay, I have to show you guys all the covers like up close. I try to like get these to focus because these covers are just like beautiful. They're so unique. I love covers like this, and I feel like these are the types of covers that really draw me in just because they're like fun and fluffy, and I really love them. I also was saying recently that I haven't really been big into cartoon covers. These, I guess I would not say that I dislike. Like, I like these kind of cartoon covers. I don't know what it is about these in particular, but these cartoon covers, I feel like they just give more depth to me. And I like them just a lot more. I didn't even really give you a wrap up, so let me do that like really fast. I actually ended up finishing 4 books in this video, which is wild because I had so many books on my TBR. I genuinely was like, there's no way I'm gonna get through these. And now I only have 2 left. Like, I literally could have did a video like this a long time ago, but I already gave you guys my update on Last Chance Dance. This one was really cute, fluffy, and fun. And then I finished The Last Sad Love Song. This one was cute. I heard so many people talking about how amazing it was, and I was like, I liked it a lot, and it definitely was like, it gave more like, if you don't want like struggle love, if you want like a love that's just like very sweet, like the main male character is like all in, kind of insta love, like you will really love this. I feel like I wasn't necessarily in the mood for that, which is why I didn't dislike it. It's just like in my mood, like I just wasn't, I don't know why I was not in the mood for that. I feel like I'm in the mood for like struggle love right now. Like, I don't know why. Maybe because I've read so many like fluffy, cute reads. Granted, there is something at the beginning of this book that kind of like sets off the story and you're like, whoa, and you're like pulled right in, and then like after that it's like pretty much smooth sailing. But yeah, there is no third act breakup in this, so that's good to know if you're like wanting to read a book like that. This is by Kimberly Brown. I'll link all the books that I got in the book haul and all the books that I read in this video in the description. I also finished The Last Mrs. Parrish, which I was talking about yesterday. Literally is a Housemaid like 2.0. I enjoyed it, but I just had already read The Housemaid, so I'm just kind of like, I already knew the story. I do feel like this one was almost better in ways, but also not, because there wasn't as much dialogue, but the storyline I think was so much better. Like, there was so much more added to the story that like really kept me interested, and the main character in this was way more diabolical. Like, I ate that up. And then I finished Phantom Limb by Lucinda Berry, which I started this in one of the last vlogs, and I got like halfway through, which I showed you guys at the beginning of this video. This book right here, I feel like sometimes I go into Lucinda Berry's books expecting like a gripping thriller, and sometimes her books are like that, and then sometimes they almost feel like literary fiction until like the end. Not literary fiction, contemporary fiction until the very end, because it's like very, like her book Saving Noah, I literally could have put that in the fiction section. It wasn't super thrilling, but it definitely was like messes with your mind, which I love. And I think that's why I also love her books in comparison to like Frida McFadden. Like, I always compare her to Frida McFadden. Like, if you like Frida's books, you like her books, because her books are messed up. They're wild, like your brain will just be like spinning. I really like this book. I feel like it didn't really pick up until, like, it was really fast paced at the beginning, and then kind of in the middle it got like a little muddled, and then it like picked up a lot at the end. I thought, like literally, I thought that I was gonna know the end of this book. Like, I just knew it. I was like, oh, I already know what's gonna happen. Had no idea. Literally didn't know. So, yeah, I ended up reading 4 books, have 2 left. I have Demon's Dream, and I also have Keeping 13, but Demon's Dream, I've read like 150 pages of it in this video. I just didn't like really talk about it because I'm gonna share like everything in my, I think, next vlog. I'm gonna try to like finish it, but I'm like at page 400 and something, which I'm like 60% through. That book is long. It's like 700 and something pages. So I didn't want to do like a full video with it because I wanted to really get into it first. So in the next video, I'll probably like finish it out and then give like my thoughts as I like read and stuff. Let me know if you guys love videos where I like share my thoughts on books as I'm reading them, or like a wrap up after, or both. I usually give kind of like a little wrap up at the end. Sometimes I'll like sprinkle things in between, but honestly a lot of the time I just forget to pick up my camera as I'm reading. Like when I'm reading, I'm in the books. And I also feel like, because this is my job like in so many different ways, TikTok, Instagram, podcast, YouTube, like I feel like when I read, I really like to be unplugged, so it's very enjoyable for me. So like having wrap-ups at the end of books is really nice because then I can just like tell you guys how I felt and stuff without being like, oh, I'm like reading hunched over, like obsessed in this book, and I need to like pull out my camera at like 7:30 at night. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts, whether you would like maybe like me to talk more as I'm reading, or if you guys are cool with like how I do it now, like I sprinkle in little bits of me like sharing as I'm reading, but mostly I like share a little wrap up at the end. But hope you guys enjoyed this whole haul, and I'll see you guys in a few days on Tuesday. Bye guys.